a nice feeling as it goes down my throat.
Okay. We're recording. What?
Nothing. It's just me. I'm sorry.
I think I picked up the last of it. Anyway. Okay. Hello everyone.
So what are we naming this podcast?
This is under the Nob Hockers.
Okay.
This is just movie stuff.
So welcome to Nob Hockers movie reviews.
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And just general movie reviews will be what we use to get us talking, and if we end up segueing into completely different things, which I know will happen, that's fine. That's fine too.
Yeah.
But basically, so let's introduce ourselves first. My name is Elijah Brown.
Mine is Jacob Johns.
And my name is William Rands.
William Rands.
Raisins. William Raisins.
And my name is William Rands.
Yes, William Rands. I don't know why I'm talking like this. My name's William Rands.
It's William Rands.
You just call me William.
So,
Oh dear.
one of the subjects I wanted to talk about, the theme of this week, and probably for a few weeks, we'll probably do a series on this. What are you doing?
I don't know.
He was getting really interesting with the straw. That was all I will say. And anyways.
Oh.
Thinking your always sing a first perfect sound just.
That sounded like someone just did like a silent fart.
just
That was
what it was,
It was
Jacob.
a mountain.
It was a mountain.
It was a mountain. It was a mountain of a fart.
Wow. Okay. So what are we starting with?
So the theme for this week and probably a few weeks, we're gonna try and do a series on it, as I just said, is underrated movies.
Yes.
At least in our opinion, because some of these movies, maybe you think no, I think they're rated as how they should be, and so that's fine. This is strictly our opinions, and even if they're not exactly underrated, they're just movies we think should be brought into the light at present.
A little bit more.
Yeah. So we're gonna start with Jacob.
Me?
Jacob Johns here, and he has brought us a movie by the name of
Treasure Planet.
So let's talk about this. Why'd you pick this, Jacob?
I picked it because for some reason when people bring up like Disney movies, Treasure Planet is not one of them.
Never on the tongue.
It's like never like on the top at all. And I feel like it was one of those movies that had a really great storyline. It had a really great meaning at the end. I thought the artwork that went into it, it's an animation. So it was fun. It made you a little bit teary-eyed too with some of the things, and it just it's just not mentioned enough.
For those of you who don't know, Treasure Planet, as Jacob already said, is a Disney movie. It came out in 2002, which was also kind of you don't really know of a lot of movies from Disney that came around that time. Early 2000s wasn't the best year for Disney and animations, at least as far as I know.
Well, they had
especially not 2D animations, because that was one of their last, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure. I don't know the facts on that, so I'm no comment.
Well, the production for the script originally started in 1997, and it took quite a while due to and the reason, Jacob, it's such a big downfall in the movie charts is because it was a loss. Disney got a huge loss on that movie.
Yeah.
It cost them a loss here of $80 million.
Wow.
The biggest flop in Disney history. Now, there's a few reasons for this. Also, it came out Thanksgiving weekend 2002.
Disney doesn't flop, by the way.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
I love this movie too, Jacob.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think.
This is one of my favorite Disney films of all time. So.
You go on, and then I'll say what I was.
We'll chime in.
Well, it came. Now, this is where I'm going to really show where I don't know what I'm talking about on some things.
That's okay. I got the IMDb page here.
Thanksgiving weekend 2002, at the same weekend as Santa Claus 2 and the second Harry Potter. So that really hurt its reputation.
Very true.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, it just.
It's an amazing film overall. They were going to do a second one, but it was canceled. And another thing now this is where you get into the politics of Disney, is it was started with one main director, and not director of the movie, director of the whole Disney movie production industry part of it. And as the movie was being filmed, they changed main directors, and he wanted to get rid of all past movies and projects because he wanted to start his own era of Disney movies.
Okay.
And that's one of the Disney changes. That's why it kind of flopped. It wasn't promoted as well. If you look up advertisements from that time, instead of Treasure Planet, all you see is Jim Hawkins, who was solar surfing at the time. That's the first advert that came out. And it was kind of interesting. It was kind of a sci-fi thing. However, Lilo and Stitch was right on the horizon, and people were more interested in that.
Well, I think, like...
Which is a very famous movie.
I think that it was probably, like, a lack of marketing, maybe. Because also, I mean, when it came to, like, very early Disney stuff, I mean, you had, like, Snow White, you had... Beauty and the Beast and stuff like that, and that stuff is like really well known. I mean, those stories have been around for like like hundreds of years, right? Like, am I correct?
I think so.
Yeah,
a lot of those stories came out.
And which I like said that, and then I was like, so like when you bring in something that's totally new from Disney, because they didn't start making movies until it was like Mickey Mouse, right? Like those were like this.
Jacob, I hate to burst your bubble here, but you do know where Treasure Island comes from, right?
It comes from
Treasure Planet comes from Treasure Island.
Treasure Planet comes from Treasure Island.
I know that. I know that, but it's I know
that's what he's talking about. The stories have been around for forever.
I know that, but like this is just it was a entirely new take on it versus the other movies that stuck very close to what the books were saying. You know,
that's 5 minutes, right?
Yeah. So like with Treasure Planet, I mean you have like freaking spaceships and all this other stuff. You have laser cannons and cyborgs and everything like that. I don't know exactly what was happening that made people not like. I don't know what it was that people didn't like about the film. I thought, especially the robot, was hilarious. I don't know if you remember Ben at all, but
I like Morph.
Morph was pretty fun.
Yeah,
just because he was supposed to be a parrot, rather than just mimicking voices, he could mimic like his shape and everything. He could morph into, which I really thought that was creative. I liked how you could parallel everything to like something like Morph is the parrot. The cyborg was just the crazy he was the peg leg pirate, and then
he was Long John Silver.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they turned him into a cyborg because they wanted to make it futuristic. Disney has a rule when it came to this film. It was the 70-30 rule, and you can see it in their sound, their music, and their special effects. 70% of it had to be classical Disney. The other 30% had to be sci-fi futuristic. I mean, the guy who composed this, he wrote it, composed it, and put it out in less than 5 months for the entire movie. And Elijah, you've done music before. That's an impressive feat.
Extremely, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just a good way to look at it is do we all know what Disney Infinity is? That video game franchise where you buy the little toys or whatever like that.
I played that when I was younger.
So those things are based off of you can collect these figures from all of these Disney movies, and basically the way they're judged was this how a Disney movie was it popular enough to make these toys out of it or not, and it's a great way to look at what movies didn't make the mark. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's some less popular ones Big Hero 6, for example. A lot of people that was it's popular now, but when it was first in theaters, it wasn't I remember it wasn't
I didn't see it.
Huge. Exactly.
I didn't see
it in theaters, and that was one of the only Disney movies I didn't. So it was kind of I hadn't heard a lot about it and seen one trailer, but that one became popular later on, and so they made the toys for it. Treasure Planet, you won't find Disney Infinity toys from Treasure Planet.
Oh no.
Same reason you won't find Disney Infinity toys for Chicken Little, or any other Disney flop.
And if you do, it's only the McDonald's toys that came out when it first
when it first
came
created.
out.
Yes,
that's the only shot that you have at
That's
it.
a great point.
I will say though, fun little fact: Disney, with the production of Treasure Planet, Treasure Island book sales actually spiked afterwards.
I wonder why that was.
Well, I read it after I heard about it.
I read it.
I went back and I was like, oh, so this is based off this book. Well, I want to read this book, and so I did.
I just heard about the book and I just assumed it was part of the book. I didn't go back and read it, guys. I'm sorry.
It's almost an exact replica of the story.
Well, yeah,
which is amazing.
Which is cool, but just with that just whole steampunk, which was really cool. I loved the idea of it being ships in space.
Right.
Like not spaceships. Like they were actual ships.
Yeah.
And the sails
that had
were like solar panels, basically.
Yeah.
That like
would catch like the light or
would
whatever.
catch the light and then charge the ship up. Like
Yeah.
they used the designs for everything and then repurposed everything on the ship.
Yeah.
To do something else. So it's like the cannons were like laser guns, and then like the sails again were like the solar things.
Yeah.
And
There were
when
sails
storms
that-
came,
yeah.
they had to raise
But
the
it was-
sails
it was
because
like-
it was getting too much energy when like solar flares
Yeah.
and the black holes would come.
And-
it all made perfect sense.
Yeah, and like the whatever storms they would run into, it was like a meteor, storm or something like that. It was
Meteor
never
storm,
like
black hole.
It was never like waves or anything. It was
Yeah. It's just the whole thing.
Pull the star.
Yeah.
The space station being the moon, that shot, like when it's like they show the moon and then they like zoom up really close and then you can see like how it's just this giant city.
Spaceship, yeah.
Whatever it was called.
Beautiful
Yeah, I think it was
animation.
called
That animation is like just
It was super fun,
It's
super
gorgeous.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's amazingly done. It was the first time Disney actually tried that animation style,
yes.
which is why it was also so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine so. I mean,
Yeah, they put a lot into that movie, and
Because if you just look at some images of it, it looks real until you put a character in there.
Right.
yeah.
Like some of the animation actually looks like hyper realistic.
Yeah.
Like if you just looked at that shot of the moon in the city, you're like, "Whoa, is this a live action movie?" And then you see a character, and you're like, "Oh
Yeah.
no, it's not." But yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So Jacob, you
what's the question that you want to ask me, Elijah?
I had a question. Shoot. What
Man,
was it?
he got so serious. He was
So
like,
Jacob,
Treasure Island.
Planet.
What's the deep meaning
when
behind it?
when did you, I want to know when did you first see this movie?
Gosh, I must have seen it when I was like 6.
So that really
So
had
it
a
was
lot to
like
do with it,
it was
too.
like 2. It was already out for 2 years before I saw it.
I remember seeing it at a very young age too, and I remember like as a child especially, like that stuff.
Oh yeah,
I mean, with all the Disney princess movies that have been coming out, and then we've got like calm movies like Fox and the Hound, and then all of a sudden Treasure Planet.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, spaceships,
it was-
guns, aliens. It's like it was the guy's Disney dream.
Well,
like, you know what I'm saying?
It was the mixture. It was that great mixture of like a pirate and like Star Wars mixed together.
Yeah,
And
Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's just
like it was freaking awesome. Yeah, no, I loved that movie. Like as soon as I saw it, like I wanted the freaking like man bun, the shaved on the sides and everything. Like I want his haircut.
you wanted to look like
I
him.
wanted his jacket.
He was such a role model.
Yeah,
I wanted his like just his single
his
sail
sail.
speeder that
Yeah,
he made.
Yes.
Just
I thought
that
it was
he ran through.
so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
I love that whole character was just like he had like the little earring and then he just had he just looked,
I wanted an earring for so long.
Just after that.
like after that, I was just like, I'm getting an earring, guys.
but he lost it at the end of the movie.
He did, yeah.
Like one really cool little detail is if you look at his hair, it gets lighter as the movie goes on, and they purposely did that to show him going from a darker personality to becoming the hero, quote unquote, at the end, where he becomes a cadet.
Exactly.
Like, that's amazing.
He actually was like I think one of the more interesting characters too, because he wasn't just this whiny like prince kind of figure. He was actually like a rebellious guy, but not only was he that, he was rebellious because he didn't have a father, but yet he still loved his mother and wanted to do everything for her. You know what I'm saying? Like
his father left him.
Exactly. And so he had such a great character arc.
Yeah.
And so did Long John Silver, the cyborg or whatever. Because,
His was like
Silver,
one of the very like beautiful ones. I thought.
Exactly,
like,
it was so cool.
It was
and
so upsetting though because you knew he had to leave. He couldn't stay.
Yeah.
But you wanted.
Yeah, like what
you
like,
wanted it to work it
his
out.
character, like it's such a great thing because again, like it's like his character just can't stay there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like his character can't live there. His character can't like stop moving. These characters just not meant to be that way. And like he has to keep going. And you're right. Like it's so sad because he just leaves and you're like, well, why? Like because they never see each other again.
Why,
like,
why
ever.
Silver? Why?
And that's what is so disappointing about them canceling the second one is we were supposed to get that continuation of the story of Jim being older, Cyborg in trouble, and now Jim is working with the law.
Yep.
You know
that
what?
characteristic, father son.
I feel like it could have been. I feel like that's a movie that I like. Like I'm glad they didn't make a sequel immediately, but wouldn't it be really cool if they like made a sequel now?
I would watch it.
Like after they've had the time to think about it, because like most of the best Pixar sequels and Disney sequels are the ones that they waited years before they made. Like let's take Incredibles 2 for example.
Yeah.
Or Toy Story 3. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's these huge gaps.
Yeah.
And when they came back, it was so refreshing to see. But also they weren't just rushing into stories. They had a lot of time to just really process and think about what they were gonna do.
Yeah,
and
no direct to DVD sequels.
You know what I would really, really love to have them do? Is to do the exact same film but live action.
You would want a Treasure Planet live action?
I would want it. I think it would be gorgeous.
It would be.
I think it
under the
right people, like whoever did Ready Player One, the director.
Somebody do it like that?
Yeah, well, that kind of animation, like to that stature. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Because Ready Player One was we're segueing off of now.
That's okay. I haven't seen that movie actually. So
you haven't?
What?
No.
Oh my gosh, you would love it. You would love it so much.
Where can you find it?
I have a copy at home probably.
Well, now we have a movie to
Add
That's
on.
another thing. That's another thing. So at the end of this, we'll tell our next movies that we're going to be talking about next week, and so then the people who listen to the podcast can watch them if they haven't, and then listen to it.
Would you like a quick
which is what we will do.
Thing of the beginning, but not no spoilers, no
Nope.
anything? No,
I would not.
No, nothing.
Why would I, William?
I don't know.
You know me.
Can we give you a description?
No.
He doesn't want that.
I already know the description. I already know about
that's
it.
What I was asking. Okay.
I already know exactly what it is.
Have you've seen Treasure Planet? Assuming the way you're talking about it.
Treasure Planet, yes, of course.
Thank goodness. Okay. Dude, it's one of my favorite Disney movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Treasure
like,
Planet,
the animation
fantastic.
that they did for Ready Player One, I feel like if whoever did the graphic design for that, if they did that with Treasure Planet, oh my gosh,
Dude, that game got me started playing Minecraft again.
oh my, well, that game just like VR, everything, like it gave me a whole like different scope of what like could be in the gaming world.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially now where we're having like VR headsets, where like they're still in testing, but like you actually can like be on a stationary treadmill that will hold you like down in one spot, and you can run.
Oh yeah.
In a VR space.
Yep, I've seen that.
Without being knocked into something, but you can also like squat and so like that. Yeah. And that's what it's like in Ready Player One. And just seeing those things kind of like mixed together.
Seeing what they could be in the future.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
It just, I almost feel like this is going to sound a little bit ridiculous, but I feel like Ready Player One is one of those movies where like it definitely could be like part of the future, kind of. I feel like it's definitely possible.
Now, Jacob, you do realize Ready Player One is based off of a book, right?
Yes.
The book was written.
Why do you keep saying that? You keep saying, you know what, never mind, I'm not going to address it, I like it.
Well,
now, Jacob, you do realize.
You realize it's
are we just gonna keep like teasing his dyslexia like that? Like every time there's a book, we're like, so that was a book.
It's a book. Yeah, no, I heard it was from. I heard it was
to read it.
I heard it was from a book. I did not read the book though.
But it's really interesting. Now, I will say it's way different than the movie.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Because the book was written years ago.
Oh yeah. They had to. They related it to pop culture. Yeah,
video games just started. So like Pac-Man was in there.
Yeah.
Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But
They wanted to put all of the. They took the idea, Ready Player One, and then they used it. See, I haven't even watched the movie, but I already know this. They took the idea of Ready Player One, and then we're like, oh, okay, video games. Well, let's use all the ones we played today instead.
And it looks beautiful, and in 10 years, I could see that happening.
Oh yeah, in 10 years or even 5 years, like
or even tomorrow.
Watch the Oasis come out tomorrow.
If it did, oh my gosh, can you imagine how?
I mean, basically, the technology that they had in that movie all but exists.
Well, I mean, it exists. It's just to the point where like it is not.
It's
to
bulky.
The average to the average consumer. It is not to the point where like they can dish it out like they do in Ready Player One.
Yeah.
So
I mean, VR headsets alone can run
like
over $1,000.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
For good ones.
Yeah.
with the tracking technology.
And then like that with a stand where you can run in place and stuff like that. That must be like $5,000, $10,000. I don't even know.
Several thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
I looked at one.
You looked at one. Were you about to buy it for the office?
No, actually, there was a demo and I got to try one out, and I ended up running it. Because
I've actually tried those too. They're fun.
If you walk at a slow speed and then you try to run, there's a slight delay. So if you go from a standing position to a dead sprint, you run into the safety bars. That was one of the biggest downfalls because it can't match your exact quick movements.
Well, the coolest one I saw is one where it's like this ball basically. It's like this big sphere, and you put on these slip shoes, basically like carpeted shoes. And the way it works is they tie you in, so it looks like a baby cart really. Yeah. But they tie you in, and you can actually your feet just slide on the thing, so you can literally run, and then you can turn, and then you can jump, and your feet just slide. But it actually feels like you can literally, it's full foot control everywhere. And you can fit it, like, in your office. Yeah.
I ended up falling like on my socks.
What was that? William just made a hand movement, which was the #1 rule in podcasting.
Okay, I could see myself when I was real little wearing socks on a hardwood floor, taking that corner and face planting faster than anything.
Yeah. Yep. Right.
Wow.
All right. So, William has brought a movie to us as well.
I have.
Is this a Robin Williams?
It is a Robin Williams movie.
So he brought us the movie, I believe it's called Cadillac Man?
It is Cadillac Man.
So William, first question.
What is?
No, not what is. So that probably is a better first question.
What is that? Because I've never watched it before.
Yeah, what is Cadillac Man?
I have no clue.
So
tell us what it is.
Is it about a guy who owns a Cadillac?
Actually, in this movie, Robin Williams...
No, actually.
You're kind of close. In the fact that Robin Williams is a used cars salesman.
Oh my gosh.
And he sells Cadillacs.
That already sounds funny.
Wait a minute.
Cadillac, like the car.
How do you spell Cadillac?
C-A-D...
Oh, Cadillac.
Cadillac.
Yeah. I can't tell you all the information, the history of it. I watched it when I was doing a study on Robin Williams.
I can't... Cadillac
Man.
C-A-D-D...
No, there's one D.
C-A-D...
Cadillac.
I feel like this is like how a baby learns how to talk.
I can't spell. No, that's not right either.
It's not?
How do you spell Cadillac? Say it out, just straight up. C-A-D. You say it. Tell me how to spell Cadillac.
C-A-D-A-L-A-T-I-C.
A-T-I-C.
Cadillac space man.
Cadillac?
Cadillac. Oh my gosh.
But it looks like Cadillac.
Oh my gosh. Just type in man for heaven's sakes.
Cadillac man. That is not a thing. I do not think you told me how to spell that correctly.
Well,
okay, C-A-D-I-L-L-A-C.
C-A-D-I-L-L-A-C. Yeah, you were
one
way
more
off.
time, everybody.
Cadillac Man.
Cadillac Man.
Okay, now I know how to spell. Okay, I found it.
It's a 1990s rated R comedy drama.
Okay.
And I will admit, it's not for all ages. It is rated R. There's some very strong...
For raunchy.
Take it with warm.
There's some strong language. But again, it's Robin Williams in the 90s. What do you expect? Where he wasn't working for Disney. So it's about this used car salesman, and there's this particular individual at the local office. She gets around, we'll put it that way. And
she gets around.
Yeah, she drives around a lot of those cars.
Okay, anyways.
Her boyfriend shows up.
Uh-huh.
Who's super jealous. He's kind of dumb, but he shows up on a dirt bike and starts shooting an AK-47 through the used car dealership windows, and he holds everyone inside hostage.
Wow.
Okay.
And it's the drama of trying to figure out who's been with his girlfriend who hasn't, and everyone in the office has. That's the funny part. And it's more of a serious, it's not really serious, it's more of a adult humor movie, but it's Robin Williams in a different portrayal.
Right.
Because it's live action.
Yeah.
So you see him, and he short hairy, used car salesman, pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
So, and it's really good because it adds a different aspect to his acting style.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually came up with what if. Some of the best movies and books, in my opinion, start with the question, What if a guy was angry at someone sleeping with his girlfriend, took off from there?
And then what if they're all held
This
captive?
is how, just because...
In a car's dealership by gun.
To see how bad it is, this is the opening scene. There is a broken down hearse on the highway, followed by a trail of really fancy cars. Robin Williams in this old Cadillac pulls up beside it and starts selling cars to the owner of the hearse and the family. And you can hear his thoughts, which is the best part.
Yeah.
You can hear Robin Williams' thoughts. And he starts selling cars to everyone there. Like, trying to. He's like, it's the best time to buy a new car is after you lost a loved one, to fill that void in your life. And this woman's like 80. And the hearse guy is like, all right, well, we don't know what to do. We're just going to call in, the local farmer's pickup truck to carry your $1 million husband away. And she starts having a fit. He sells him a new car that can be transformed into a hearse. Which, that's how they used to do it. They used to take regular cars and transform them. And that's how the movie starts. Him selling cars in a broken down funeral procession. Like
that, wow.
Where else do you go?
Yeah, so it's...
So obviously the $1 million question is...
the $1 million question.
So why do you think this film is underrated? Or let's phrase it a different way.
I've never heard of it.
Let's phrase it a different way. I mean, yeah, why do you think people have never heard of it, for one? Why does it have low reviews? Maybe you know, maybe you don't. Maybe you just disagree entirely. And why do you think it should have better ones?
The reason it's kind of low is it was a very low budget movie. It was made very quickly. It was shot in 2 locations, not including the highway. That was
right.
They just used the highway. It was his house.
3 locations.
3 locations. Okay, Mr. Film Technical. I'm just a writer. Leave me alone.
Highway. Yeah.
And it's between his ex-wife's house, which he still has a key to because they're, settling that already.
Oh, at first I meant something else. I was very concerned.
Because they're not actually exes.
Yeah, and no, they are. And the Cadillac dealership. So it's very low budget. It was under the radar. It's not some of the best acting in the world. It just has a good couple of actors.
Got it.
But it's also...
That makes more sense than the budget, because I've seen a lot of low budget movies.
Right.
Do you know
really
the studio who did it?
I cannot remember the studio.
That might be.
Also, it was a lot of things that were with Robin Williams. This came out in the 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
He was also doing some deals with other people at the time. A lot of people went to go see his comedy routines.
Yeah.
And this wasn't the biggest comedic looking movie.
Yeah.
Even though the movie...
Well, it really doesn't. I mean, what you've just described.
But it's absolutely
It
hilarious.
sounds like an action film.
Right,
or
not.
like a terrorist movie or
it's
something.
It's like a comedy action.
It has all the hype of an action movie, but all the laughing of a comedy.
So it's like...
It's a scripted Robin Williams special.
Yeah.
Basically.
Interesting.
I mean, I wonder if it had something to do with whoever produced it or anything like that. Because if you sign with someone like ABC or Netflix or something like that, then they do all the promoting for your film.
Right.
Especially if it's like a Netflix original, because they're putting it out there and everything. But if you're low budget, privately owned studio and everything like that, and you're doing this, unless you have money to just promote the heck out of it, it's not going to really get that many places. Private producers. Okay.
It was produced by Roger Donaldson and Charles Robin. It only made 27.6 at the box office. It wasn't really a big company or anything.
Okay.
It was just these 2 guys that wanted to do it.
Wow.
And Robin Williams thought it was hilarious, so he did it.
Kind of inspirational if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what we're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's good work. I think it's funny. So it didn't really have as much advertisement and big out there.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I would suggest you 2 watching it. There is some language.
I want to watch it.
But I think we'd all be.
Oh man, language.
Well,
darn too.
We can't handle that.
Can't handle language.
And honestly, I can't tell you how it ends because I don't remember.
Well, great. So we can
folks,
all be...
check that out.
It was as a comedy drama, which is a weird mix sometimes, especially with Robin Williams in the situation. That it was kind of like this big mountain of an arc, because it started off really slow, then boom, comedy, laughing, really action, guns firing, hostages, and then just the last thing I remember about the movie is just Robin Williams smiling, and that was it. Just boom. Because I can't tell you the overall story. I can just tell you the jokes and stuff like that, and the little bitty plots. But it's hilarious. It's pretty good, and it's pretty underrated, especially 90s with the language, it being private producers. And a lot of other big films came out.
Yeah.
During those
low budget film that just kind of happened under
the radar.
Under the radar. Huh.
Which kind of helped at the same time.
Yeah.
Because Robin Williams was busy doing other things, especially in the 90s.
Yeah.
So it allowed him to have more time.
It's really sad when that does happen too. Sometimes though, maybe not in this movie's case, but I remember there was a story. Now I haven't seen this movie. I just heard about it. There was a movie called The Thief and the Cobbler. Anybody heard about that?
I've heard of it, but only from you talking about it earlier.
Now here's the thing. I haven't seen the movie, but it was like in Arabia or something like that. It was like a cartoon, and it was about a thief, and it was literally like it sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It came out at exactly the same time as Aladdin.
Oh.
Now, or at least very close to it. Now.
Actually, now I feel like
obviously, nobody's ever heard of it.
No, I think I have.
Which is, I mean, no one's ever like really
no
like
one knows.
No one's seen it.
Yeah.
No one knows it, and everybody thinks it's a ripoff. When in reality, it's a completely different story from what I've heard. But also, it's really sad because like the director put like. I mean, he didn't even know that Disney was making Aladdin. You know what I'm saying? At the time when he was making it, and he put just like so much time and money, and he worked on it for like years and years and years and years because he had such a small production company, and it was just like supposed to be like his dream production. You know what I'm saying? And Aladdin came out, and nobody went to see it. And
that
it like
a lot, though.
It does.
It happens.
That's a famous example.
That
because
happens with like 85 or 90% of movies that are made.
Like
yes,
ants and
but that one's like specifically sad because like the guy I remember it was like a small time production. A lot of the companies that do it like Ants and
Bugs Life.
It was Pixar and DreamWorks. Like they
big,
didn't lose anything. They didn't lose anything. You know what I'm saying? This guy, it was his one big project, and it just went flop. And that's stuff. I want to
watch it now just because.
That stuff's sad. Yeah, I do too. I want to support it, but I just that's just a good example. So Cadillac Man.
Interesting.
If you want something funny or just interesting, it sounds interesting. Something new.
Robin Williams.
Something
if
fresh.
You're a fan.
Or just a fan of Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's good.
Then go watch that.
So Elijah, what do you have for us?
So I have a movie that is one of my favorite films of all time, and it's actually a DreamWorks movie. Okay. I believe it's from the DreamWorks Golden Age, which we haven't had in a while. Sorry.
I'm trying to see if I can guess what it is.
Can you whisper that a little louder?
Is it Joseph and the Coat of Many Colors?
No.
Or whatever it is?
Close.
And it's Prince of Egypt.
Prince of Egypt.
Yes, that is a great movie.
Right. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I've seen all of them.
They made two. Yes, Joseph King of Dreams came out after, but it was a prequel. It was a prequel.
Well, yeah.
So
chronologically,
chronologically.
The book of the Bible.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really was though, because like they're both like go hand in hand.
Oh yeah.
Because the descendants and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's better.
So this movie, yes, it's way better. This movie, I have so many things to say about it.
Really, I love it.
First of all, I think it's underrated. And extremely underrated.
Yeah.
Again, like when people talk about cartoons or like the golden age of like 2D animation and stuff like that, you never hear about Prince of Egypt. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's not well heard of. And this movie, and again, it's DreamWorks, and it was at the time that Disney was pumping out a bunch of like cartoons as well, and so it was kind of struggling to hop on the train. And yet, first of all, it's a Bible story. For those people who don't know, it's a story about the Exodus and Moses and all the things that happened during that time.
And what not?
Yeah, what?
And what not?
And watch not?
And watch not.
Oh, I thought you were telling them not to watch the movie. Like, watch it not?
Never mind.
You tried.
I tried. I really tried.
And watch not?
Save the comedy for us. It's okay.
Yeah, Jacob, it's okay that you're not
You're just
funny.
the face, and this is a podcast, so you're
I
the watch.
will remember you.
Just put a big picture of Jacob's face on the front of the podcast. That's
That's
it.
what you'll be good for. Clicks.
Observe. Yeah. just handsome man. And it's just us talking.
You want to see this?
So are you guys saying that like my picture is like the initial thing that like will keep people like interested for like the first 5 seconds?
Oh,
and then
absolutely.
You guys, okay, well that's
of course.
stupid.
That'll be exactly
accurate?
Of course, Jake. No,
No,
it's not, William. What the
it's
heck?
Not.
It is
Oh my
not.
gosh.
Jeez.
That is.
They'll only be interested for about the first 2 seconds, and then no.
And then they'll be like, whatever.
It'll get the clicks, but that's it. All right.
Anyways.
Anyway, so let's continue. So
What are you guys
prince,
gonna do? Like put a picture of me on there?
We love you, Jacob.
the Prince of Egypt is just it's a beautiful story because I've seen a lot of biblical what?
Nothing. It's just funny. It's a very beautiful story.
It's a beautiful story.
It's a beautiful story from the Bible.
But that's kind of what I'm getting at here.
Okay.
Is because I've seen a lot of biblical adaptions. I used to watch all the cartoons as a kid. Just like VeggieTales, but also like we had those like old cassette tapes.
Yeah.
That were like literally went like chapter by chapter and had a video for like each and like cartoon.
Yeah.
It was almost like an anime kind of. But they were actually really good. But again, they were all they were straight depictions, which I don't have a problem with. I'd rather have a movie be a little bit more accurate to the book than,
Yeah.
But this movie took some... That was just my computer. This movie took some liberties, for example, the relationship between Ramses and Moses.
I thought the whole relationship thing was beautifully done.
It was,
movie.
because...
Out of all the movies that I've seen...
They did have a good relationship.
In the Bible, they don't talk about that.
Yeah, they don't.
And they don't talk about the fact that they were brothers.
Yeah.
Because they kind of skip that part of the timeline. But if you think about it, it's totally possible that like he would have been brothers with Ramses because if the Pharaoh had died and then he was adopted and it was her child, then there they go. They're adopted brothers.
Yeah, the Bible doesn't really touch on that, but there are some Egyptian texts that they took a lot of things out of.
Yes.
Which was kind of
really
nice.
no, really,
yeah,
I didn't actually know that.
Texts.
Oh, well, there you go.
Sorry, history nerd.
Yeah,
but
no, that's cool. Elaborate on that a little bit.
Because a lot of the things they couldn't put everything in the Bible. Obviously, it's been redacted so many times.
Of course.
It's not even funny.
But also we're missing parts. Like
there's multiple books that aren't included.
Multiple books, but also like if you go and see the Dead Sea Scrolls, you can see where pages are ripped out and they couldn't they don't have the full the full record.
You can't just undo it and just see what they.
You can't just go Doctor Strange style and fix the pages. You can't.
Yeah.
Or just go find them. They're kind of gone.
By the way, have you guys seen the Dead Sea Scrolls?
No.
We're taking a trip
Why are you confused? Like as if like I'm going to go and like find the Dead Sea Scrolls.
No. They're at the Creation Museum.
Yeah.
Have you been to the Creation Museum?
Yeah, I just haven't bothered looking at it.
It's been a while, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just haven't
cool
bothered.
Road trip. So back to the Prince of Egypt. That's where they got some of their inspiration from, and of course, mainly the Bible, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
They did take some liberties, like they didn't really break out in song and dance every time they were whipped. That didn't happen.
No, of course. Although I will say that the music in it too.
The soundtrack alone is
worth like so much, and it's the music, the soundtrack and stuff is like by Hans Zimmer, and then the music and stuff is by I don't remember the guy's name, but
someone.
They did it together, basically. Them and the people who sang and stuff also helped. Huh?
Really?
Yeah, they did. They did it together.
They
did it together.
It's a great way to get the story of the Exodus to the younger
the intensity of the music too was just like the beginning song.
It brings a lot of.
Us is an amazing song.
Like it's just and the other thing that I watched a YouTube video on it. I think something they pointed out is the animation is like when you watch a Disney movie, everything's light and fluffy. You know what I'm saying? Like when somebody jumps or gets hit in the face, there's no bruising, there's no scratches, there's no scars. They fall on the ground, no broken bones. Like everything's very light. You know what I'm saying? And the animation style of the Prince of Egypt, first of all, the lighting on that film and just like the overall just scale.
Everything was very sharp.
The scale of it,
yeah.
just like how big some of these like background. Some of the background arts
They were the pyramids.
Just for like the city of Egypt, and then like just the desert, just massive pieces of artwork that just like you would not even believe. And then the lighting and stuff on it just made it look so pleasing to the eye. But like the thing about it is that when you watch that movie, something they did that you just don't see cartoon movies do ever is there's weight to the characters and there's weight to the stuff. Like when the characters are pulling the rocks, to get them up to the pyramid, you feel thirsty and you feel sweaty, and then you see them get whipped and they actually like have scars and scratches on their backs, and then
the sting of that whip.
They get cut. They get you actually feel like exhausted, and just terrible watching them work like this. You know what I'm saying? And everything, movies to this day, Aladdin. Like, when he jumped around in some of the scenes, he was just so weightless, you know what I'm saying? Right. It was like he had no weight. These characters, like, just the chariot scene. Can we talk about the chariot scene at the beginning of the movie?
The chariot
it's
scene,
so cool. One of my, and when they fall, like, the weight, everything is, like, weighted. Like, the boards fall, the chariots creak the things. Like, everything has...
rocks, the dust.
Everything has weight to it. Nothing is light.
After that, I wanted a chariot.
Oh, like, right? Everybody did.
That's what I wanted.
I watched that scene, I'm just like, oh
I was like, screw a car. Like, I just...
And then, like, just the fact that it is a movie about... It's not even a movie about believing in God. It's a movie about...
It's about the story.
It's about, but it's not just that. They already believe in God. They all believe in God. I mean, they're all saying, like, yeah, deliver us. They all believe in God. It's about God's covenant, and it's about the promise, and it's about, like, the faith in knowing that he's going to do what he promised to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just, it's so interesting to see, like, all the characters. And then the other song, what's it called?
The Plagues?
Heaven's Eyes.
Oh my gosh.
Heaven's Eyes. Where he sits there. Some of the lines in that song are just so cool. Like, a single thread in a tapestry, though its color brightly shines, can never see its purpose in the pattern of the grand design. And, and the stone that sits on the very top of the mountain's mighty face doesn't think it's more important than the stones that form the base.
Yeah.
Like, there's, like...
Yeah, that song.
Whether you believe that story is true or not, like that is so like that's real stuff right there.
Just your kind of like just for the general like knowledge of
the moral of just like life, like
everything.
Life itself.
Yeah, of everything. Yeah,
like this is true. This is true of everyone, whether you believe it or not. Like this is you cannot see your purpose in the grand design. You know what I'm saying? You can't. If you're at the top, do you think you're more important than what's supporting you? You know what I'm saying? Like all of those, just the messages that were in it that they were able to pull across, and yet make it a movie that was like
entertaining,
fun, and intense,
informed,
and then different enough to where it wasn't just like a Ten Commandments again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was its own thing, and the added characters and the added stuff just made it I think it really benefited the story, because it made the Bible make more sense. When I go and read that story, I can really get those pictures and images in my head of what it was like, and just everything that went along with that. And it's a great, again, just the way they like add in new characters. When you read a book, you can read the characters' thoughts, and you can read, it says what they're thinking, it says exactly what they're doing, and like Ramses. The character, the way they designed Ramses really shows like we can't read inside Moses' head while we're watching the movie that he's really having a struggle with, like, he grew up in Egypt.
Yeah, he has a family in Egypt.
He's got a family in Egypt and a family in Israel. Now the Bible talks about that, but there's no characters connecting that struggle. You know what I'm saying? When they show that he has a relationship with Ramses, and then he marries someone that's in the other community, like. You don't even have to. You don't have to read it. You can just clearly see, oh dear, this is a big problem. You know what I'm saying?
And I think a very nice way that they depicted that. There's a song in there called "The Plagues." Mm-hmm. And at the beginning, it's talking about the plagues.
All the songs are good. I mean,
it's the plagues that descend on Egypt. The hordes, the frogs,
and they're both like singing back and forth.
They're singing at the same time, and the lines in there, it's like, still at this time, I wish we would have chosen another to speak your word on your behalf, because he's literally facing his brother across the way, and they're both singing at the same time, talking about wanting the other one to come back with them.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know it's not going to work like that.
And you also know who's right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But the very interesting part of any quote-unquote villain, because Ramses in this story is perceived as the villain,
yes,
is if you can understand them.
Yes.
I mean, we all have siblings here.
And you can. He's my brother. Like, what the heck?
I mean, imagine if one of our siblings wandered off for several years after they thought they did something bad, came back talking about this random being that showed up in a bush that's telling them to get rid of your industry.
Yeah. And then telling him the morals from the song, Heaven's Eyes, he's like, listen, you're at the top.
But you're not that important.
But you do not treat the people who form your base like you should.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't, and you think that you've got the high seat and therefore you can see your pattern in the grand design. You think you know what you're supposed to be doing and who you are. And he's like, you don't. You know what I'm saying? And it's also like heartbreaking too, because Ramses...
You thought it was a joke at first.
In the Bible, in the Bible, the moment Moses shows up, the Pharaoh's like unhappy to see him, like he wants to kill him. You know what I'm saying, basically. And Ramses, like when Moses comes in, he's like Moses, like he's so happy to see him. You know what I'm saying? And one of the best scenes in there, I think, and just one of my favorite scenes in animated history, is when their conversation, when they sit there and talk and realize that they've both changed.
Yeah.
And Ramses realizes what he wants, and he goes back and sits on his throne and just sits there and thinks for a second and opens his eyes, and like the music like snaps. Like immediately he sits there and thinks and then opens his eyes, music snaps, and like you realize
everything's changed.
There it is. You know.
Yeah. And this is where you also have to know a little bit Bible, of course, and the just Egyptian history. As Ramses, as the pharaoh, he is not just the direct speaker for the Egyptian gods. He is
an Egyptian god, which is true. The Egyptians believed that the pharaoh was a god. And I think that's also so cool the way they depicted that. Now that was in the Bible. They talked about that. Yes. But I loved seeing it the way they did it too, because at the end, again, like while the waves are crushing them, and he literally holds his hands out,
trying to stop them.
Believing that he has power to stop these waves. And it's like, no. God has the power. Mm-hmm. That's it. You do not. You are powerless. Everything that you thought you were is nothing compared to the power of God, which is just like.
If you ever want to be humbled, stand in a wave.
Oh my gosh! Right? Yeah. I just love his things, and the two advisor characters. Yes,
too. The two. Yes. Those guys were hilarious.
Yes.
What was it?
Because
Otek and Foy.
Yeah.
What was it? Yeah.
Yeah, Otek. Yeah, and
that's what they performed.
They did. That was in the Bible.
Magic tricks.
Because he said because in the Bible it says after Moses turned his staff into a snake, it says they came out and they turned their staffs into snakes to prove to him that they could do it too. And the fact that like they made them like two prominent characters to take over all that stuff, so they turned the water in the blood. Yeah, playing with the big boys now. Love that song. You're playing with the big boys now.
Oh yeah.
Playing with the big boys now.
And oddly enough, they were very historically accurate on the Egyptian gods and powers and stuff. Which I loved, because it's like they had to actually.
Well, the whole thing was like, I mean, just aesthetically and like historically accurate. Like,
which made it better.
Which is cool, because like the Bible, it doesn't get into Egyptian history.
No.
Or Egyptian, research. You got to go and look it up. And they're like, we're going to give you the Bible, but we're also going to depict this accurately, which is like just the coolest thing. And I think it's an underrated movie.
I do too.
Yeah. It's definitely worth, if anyone hasn't seen it, definitely worth your time. It used to be on Netflix. They just took it off.
They did?
Yeah.
I didn't even know if it was on Netflix.
I have a copy at home.
So I was going to go watch it, but it's,
That's sad.
It's a great movie. So
Treasure Planet's on Netflix, by the way.
Oh. Is it now?
Oh. I checked on it earlier.
Oh.
I watched it
well.
So. Sweet. Well, okay. So next week for our audience to in case you guys haven't seen any of the movies we talked about, we're going to tell you the movies we're going to talk about next week, or at least we're going to try.
Yeah.
And so that way you guys can watch them, and then when we come to talk about them, you can give us your thoughts and stuff like that. So William, what are you going to bring to the table? What are you going to bring to the table next week?
Are we doing underrated movies still?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we'll do underrated movies for a little while, I think.
Underrated movies. Let's go.
Because there's so many.
Gosh.
Let's go with Hook.
Hook. Okay, another Robin Williams movie.
I'm a big Robin Williams fan.
Great.
Oh, jeez.
Jacob.
Why did you just do this already? Wow. Okay.
He needs time to think, man.
Yeah. No.
I thought you had another one.
No, we were talking about Ready Player One, but Ready Player One, I mean,
It's
that's
not underrated.
No. You gave another film. I remember you talked about Treasure Planet, and you talked about something else. I don't remember what it was though.
Well, if you want to go back and listen to the recording all over again, you can probably find it. Self-plugging.
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, there's
You do Jumanji.
Jumanji. I think is really well known though.
After it came out, years after when it first came out,
And it's
not
like what I said. Like there's a difference between well known and well rated.
right.
Yeah.
Well known is very different.
There's some very well known movies that are terrible.
Yeah. Well, like Batman vs Superman.
Well, there you go. I mean,
yeah, like
You want to do that one? No, that's not well rated. That's underrated. That's rated perfectly where it needs to be.
Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
Gosh, I will get back to you on that.
Okay, that's all right. We'll get back and I'll just post it in the comments, I guess, once we get it. I'm gonna talk about Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, never heard of it.
Okay.
You haven't heard of it?
The Edge of Tomorrow?
No.
Have you heard of it?
That's the one where the guy keeps reliving the day over and over and over again. Yeah.
Oh, I know what
I
I
had
was
a
talking
hard
about.
time watching that when it first came out.
Did you?
Well, with my family.
Okay.
It's why? Because it was confusing or intense?
Actually, well, when it came out, they didn't like the idea of a guy dying and repeating everything over and over and over again. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is kind of like it's mind-boggling.
They thought it was a Groundhog Day with war thrown in.
Yeah, except actually, it was based off of a old comic, I believe. So actually, technically, Edge of Tomorrow was original.
Yeah.
I think it came out before.
It did.
The story came out before Groundhog Day. Yeah. So,
Okay, so I know what I'm going to be talking about now. I just thought of it.
Oh, great.
It is called the Imitation Game.
I have heard of that.
That is fantastic.
I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard of it.
In that movie is one of his best pieces, I think, that he's done acting wise. That's just me though.
Well, there we go.
And we'll watch that one.
So we have Hook, which is the movie William will bring to us. We have The Imitation Game, which is the movie Jacob suggests, and then we have The Edge of Tomorrow. So go watch those if you can find them.
Also, Edge of Tomorrow. It's also known as Live, Die, Repeat.
Live, Die, Repeat. Yes,
Just in case
it's
you're
both titles.
confused.
Yep. I was actually, I knew it was Live, Die, Repeat, and I was trying to remember what the other name of it was. I was like, the left of yesterday, the Edge of Tomorrow.
That could work. The left.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
So next week we will reconvene and we will talk about these movies and everything.
These movies. So
Can't wait.
hope y'all enjoyed.
Sweet.
We'll see y'all later.
See ya.
And goodbye.
And that's the way the